Oh no! Test screenings for Aquaman 2 take a number 2. Gee, I wonder what went wrong. So this has been bounced around. I've seen other YouTube channels talking about it, and then here's Cosmic Book News talking about it. And the Aquaman test screenings, as far as I can recall, were always troubled. They weren't that great, and a lot of people were suspecting it was because of Amber Turd, which couldn't help. And apparently, her role in it has been greatly reduced, but they can't take her out completely. And people say, "Hey, why not replace her?" And I guess they decided that was too expensive or what have you. But just on and on and on with this stuff. And then the Batman came along, and Michael Keaton was originally in it because this was to follow the Flash, and of course the Flash movie is a time warping shenanigans reset movie. And then you get Aquaman, and the effects of that movie are present within it. So you've got Michael Keaton, Bruce Wayne meeting Aquaman. Hey, how's that happen? Well, you got to watch the Flash and blah blah blah. Well, then things were changing. Discovery bought Warner Brothers and all that. And then all of a sudden we got a leak that wasn't supposed to happen, but some people saw him on set. Ben Affleck returned to play Bruce Wayne for Aquaman 2, and there was Jason Momoa taking pictures with him, and yay, Ben's back, and all that stuff, and everyone got excited. And that basically they inserted him back in to simply do the same scenes that Michael Keaton had done. Because at the time, it was looking like, well, we're not going to go with that universe change thing, at least not to that extent. And so for the time being, we'll just keep it that Ben Affleck's version of Batman still exists within the DC shared universe. And so there you were. Well, then they moved on to plans for the DCU with James Gunn being in charge with Peter Safran. And apparently even more changes. And one would think that, well, the Batman parts were taken out. And perhaps that was the deal. But how involved was the Bruce Wayne appearances significant for the overall plot for the Aquaman film? And maybe it was necessary, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But the film kept being gutted. So Cosmic Book News, summarizes all that. But these people who are hearing about this tweeted, and Casey Walsh tweeted, it sounds like it went through some significant plot changes. Not anything DCU related. Well, that's interesting. Well, what would be the plot changes? If it was plot changes to make it Batman free, the only reason to do that is because it would be necessary for a DCU setup because of what the Flash film did, I would think. So could only be referring that there's no scenes in it that gives you a preview of the new universe, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the reason it looks the way it does right now, or at least at the time of this test screening, is not DCU related. I think it is, because otherwise, why do? Unless, of course, they're still trying to fix it because it's just a bad movie. If the plot and story is terrible, what are you going to do? You'd have to shoot a whole new movie, and no, that's not happening. So anyway. It says viewer Anson. I think that's viewer Anon. And I'll be honest, we're half a dozen test screenings in, I believe, and it's not looking great. I've consistently heard over the last half year, oh man, McCloy, come on, a year or so, that it's boring. Not as good as the first and potentially one of the worst DCEU movies. And boy, that's saying something. I mean, look, I've tried to give it a chance, but there's a lot of rough amongst the diamonds there, because the diamonds are few and far between. But anyway, so then Big Screen Leaks also tweeted, there's a reason I've been avoiding any questions about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but since viewer Anon put it out there, it brings me no joy to back him up and tell you that test screenings for this film have not been good. Really hoping Juan fixes this movie before December. Well, it depends on what demands are put upon him, I imagine. And boy, he might not want to come back and deal with anything DC after all. He'll go back to The Conjuring, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Big Screen Leaks added, I heard that something that almost never happened in test screenings happened with this movie. They're really going to need to fix this one, and fix it fast. Yeah, because the clock really is ticking. It's got to come out this year at the end of it, but still, not a lot of time left. But gee, I wonder what the thing that happened that almost never happens in test screenings. Well, and this, I don't know what their sources are, but I've seen other videos talking about this, saying that this was people walked out of the theater. It's that bad. Now, could this be that it's so badly chopped up now that it doesn't make any sense because they had to cut scenes out that were referencing Bruce Wayne? I don't know. But the only conclusion there would be that the Bruce Wayne scenes were that important. It was described that Bruce Wayne meets up with Aquaman to tell him there's something wrong at the Earth's core, and then another cameo scene where Aquaman gives a speech at the UN, and Bruce Wayne is in attendance to that, and so they shot both scenes with Keaton first and then Affleck. But it's kind of sounded like, well, I guess they could cut that out, but maybe not. I don't know what else was gutted, and it's where it's like, this is so stupid and bad, and really boring. I don't know. So people walking out of a test screening. So anyway, Viewer Anon responded, this is one of the bad things about being a scooper. I don't want to be a pooper on movies. But at a certain point, when people know there have been a lot of test screenings, our silence becomes pretty telling. I like one. I know he's had a rough time on this one. I hope it works out. Big Screen Leak says, couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. So, yeah, there's trouble. Jason Momoa seemed really happy with the message he got and says he can't talk about it now, and everyone suspects that means he's going to get to be Lobo. And I think that's a wrap on Aquaman, at least his version of it, which is odd because his was the only billion-dollar movie for the DC films. And for whatever reason, they just couldn't get it together for this follow-up. The story was always the same from the test screenings until this, of people walking out, but no specific as to why exactly. But the specifics of the previous one was, well, Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa worked well together, at least for that aspect of it, but the rest of it, I don't know. Apparently wasn't any good. So other people continue on. I hear it's terrible, and that's why Momoa is going to be with Lobo. This guy says, what is it, Jeff Snyder or whatever, says the first one was awful too, so not a huge surprise. It wasn't. It's not great. It's got some dumb moments in it, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. So I guess just not a DC fan. I don't know. So there you go. That's the situation they're in, and DC continues to be a cluster. You know what? And a mess. And it's unfortunate. Meanwhile, the guy who plays Black Manta, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, has moved on to Marvel. I forget who he's playing. I think it's a race swap character. I'm blanking on that. But yeah, he's gone to Marvel. Hope it's lasts long enough for him to get work, because they're not doing so great over there either. But Black Manta, I mean, that's something they've already given up on this movie, because Black Manta is the main villain for Aquaman. You would think he would continue on, but then again, maybe the big conflict, he doesn't survive this one, I don't know, between the two, and then they'd move on to another villain for the final one, because usually you want a trilogy at least, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. And I mean, they're into transitioning to a new universe, and Jason Momoa will be showing up as Lobo, I guess. So Yeah, boy, I tell you, you pull Batman out of something and it all falls apart. I guess. I don't know. I mean, because now it sounds, because it was always said it was troubled, didn't sound good. A few things were okay, but overall it was bad. And now that they've tried to fix it again, and it's even worse. But it appears, I'm guessing, that the fix was only to try to make it fit with their new direction, and with that being the chief concern, rather than the plot and story and presentation of the overall Aquaman film. So it can just be a Aquaman film should be your first priority in it, but it wasn't, and it probably is the cause of its downfall. So yeah, they walked out apparently. So anyway, that's too bad for Aquaman.